to make in support of Ukraine.
Will you be investing more in our own sovereign capabilities? Because a lot of us are concerned that we seem to be beholden to other allies and we do not have sufficient sovereign capability. And that, I think, was also part of the government's agenda to bolster the defence industrial base. You've often intimated that defence is an engine for growth. So what are you doing to ensure that we have more sovereign capability?
Will we be investing in more UK sovereign capability? Yes. An argument I've made for several years before the election. We declared at the election when we were elected into government that we would look to direct British defence investment first towards British-based firms, new jobs and innovation in this country. That's exactly what we have been doing, and over the last year you've seen over 1,100 major contracts let, 84% of that going to British-based firms, and in the last year you've seen a rise in the direct defence investment into British firms by over 6% above inflation.
And with regards to the Prime Minister, I know that he and the Chancellor will be visiting China. Now, can you confirm whether the Prime Minister is willing to sacrifice defence and security concerns at the altar of economic prosperity with the second largest economy in the world?
No, this is a Prime Minister that refuses to be drawn on what he sees as false binary choices, US or Europe, China trade or China concerns about security. In this complex world, particularly with a complex country like China, there are both enormous important trading opportunities with China, but there are also security concerns that are deep-rooted and continuing, and he will and we will balance both.
I know Ian wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, just on that capability, Secretary of State, the Armed Forces is suffering as the government retired the Puma in March 2025, leaving a medium-lift helicopter capability gap. So what is happening with awarding the medium-sized helicopter contract? As you say, there are thousands of British jobs and within the SME supply chain that are relying on this decision, and industry need the certainty now.
I understand that, Mr. Room. First of all, on the Puma, that was a decision I took last year. We are in a process. It is a big challenge for a new government to deal with what was a defence equipment programme that was heavily overcommitted, badly underfunded, and in many areas unsuited to the changing threats that we face. So as we make our defence investment decisions now to implement the vision of the Strategic Defence Review, there will be tough decisions that we need to make. And the Puma decision, like Watchkeeper, like HMS Bulwark and Albion, were all decisions that were long overdue, in my view, necessary decisions to help set up and reprioritise the defence budget for the future. On the new medium helicopter contract, that competitive process is still underway. We're considering that in the context of the wider investment plans and priorities that we are balancing at the moment. But I am acutely conscious.
As I understood it, there was only one successful candidate left in the contract.
You will understand that there is a contract process underway, and that's not been completed yet. And I am deeply aware of just how important the skills of the workforce are, and the potential that they have to play a part in the sort of transformation that we need to see in the technology we develop, the manufacturing we produce, and the kit that we get much quicker into the hands of our warfighters for the future. And as you'd expect, both the Minister for Defence Readiness and Industry, Luke Pollard, and I are talking regularly and closely with the most senior Leonardo managers and directors, and I was with and discussing this with the Leonardo UK MD just last week.
And Secretary, talking of contracts, where are we with Ajax? billions of pounds of public money invested, absolute shambles. Who's to blame, and what are you doing to resolve the situation?
So, Luke Pollard, Minister for DRI, updated the House quite properly last week. I am furious that vital information was withheld.
Ministers were lied to.
It's clear we didn't have the full facts in the lead up to decisions about the initial operating capability. That IOC has been withdrawn. The Army is no longer in charge of this programme. A new Senior Responsible Officer, SRO, is now in place. I've been clear that we must back it or scrap it. The work is being done at the moment in order to put us in a position to make that decision. And whilst I really want to see the way that we procure for the future being more innovative, more rapid, first and foremost will be my concern for the safety and protection of our forces personnel.
Okay. Thomas.
Thank you. Secretary of State, in your answer to the Chair's first question, you mentioned several times the desire to invest in British-based companies and manufacturers in defence. In opposition, we spoke about Buy British. You spoke about Buy British, and that was the kind of Labour manifesto spoke about that as well. You're now using language that is British-based. Does that reflect a policy within the department to accept that it's too difficult sometimes to give contracts directly to British companies, and that there's an acceptance that if a foreign company from, let's say, Europe or America has a British subsidiary, we're now accepting that being British-based is sort of good enough to fall in with that kind of Buy British mentality?
3 points. First of all, Buy British is clearly a shorthand. What it signifies is a determination and a first focus on the role that defence can play as an engine for growth, creating new jobs, new opportunities, skills, backing good British-based businesses and innovators for the future. Second, it is not always possible to buy entirely British. There are certain capabilities that we need that are best produced by other countries or produced in combination and collaboration with industries in other countries, allied countries. And third, I think I would just encourage the committee and the public over the next 2 to 3 years to judge us on what we do, not just on what we say. I've given the committee already the figures in the first year in government for the way that we've increased defence investment into British firms. I've made a series of announcements that will lead to more British jobs and opportunities. In Ms Scrogham's constituency here, just since the last election, there are over 1,000 extra jobs in the Barrow shipyard because of the extra investment that we're putting into defence. And I'm announcing today a new programme to find the next UK defence tech unicorn in this country. That's a pot of up to £20 million that we will go after and invite those entrepreneurs that may not have done much or any business within defence before to come forward with the sort of innovation and ideas that they may have that we can help develop and support. And this is part of the Office for Small Business Growth opening its doors today. And it's, if you like, new ways of finding new entrants and new entrepreneurs in Britain for a programme that we're set to spend £2.5 billion in supporting directly in supporting small SMEs in the next each year. So this is Britain as our first focus. Our sovereign capability, as you put it, Mr. Thomas, as a priority. And fundamentally, it's also a recognition of what we can draw from Ukraine, which is that when a country is under threat or forced to fight, Its armed forces are only as strong as the industry and the innovators and the investors that stand behind them in their own country and with their close allies. And in this period where we face increasing threats, we face rising demands on defence, then there is a strong economic case for directing our investment to British-based firms. Okay. There is a strong security case for doing the same thing.
Okay, thank you. I'll just move on to ask you about the much delayed defence investment plan. And you said just